This is the STL Medical Weight Loss Radio Show with Dr. Joe. No more talking, let's go.
Welcome back to the STL Medical Weight Loss Radio Show. I'm your host, Dr. Joseph Moleski. In studio today, we have our co-hosts, Drew, Shelton, and Joanne, one of our patients. We're talking about the overall benefit that Drew and Joanne have both received from taking this medication, getting down on their weight, getting their health right, and just feeling good.
I feel so much better. I look so much better. You know, doing the morning show earlier this week, Cal Brazil, she was like, "Man, you look really good." I said, "Well, that's great." And then we had a whole big debate on the show because she's like, does it all start at the top and work its way down? Because, you know, I have a big gut, right? And that's kind of like when I started noticing this. But one of the statistics in this program, 8 out of 10 patients lose 15 to 20 pounds first 90 days. 9 out of 10, they love the injectable program.
Yes.
7-inch average reduction. I've gone to not the grocery store, but the clothing store twice in the last couple weeks because I've had to change my sizes. These stats back it up.
Yeah, and you're feeling like you have more energy, your breathing's better.
Yeah.
Joanne was telling us earlier that her aches and pains are better. She's down on her thyroid meds. I mean, all these benefits. And you at the break you were talking about not having to take as much of your GERD medications. Talk us a little about that.
Well, a couple years ago, when I started gaining all the weight that I had gained, I have a hiatal hernia. Mm-hmm. And I like to sleep on my back, so that creates GERD when you're sleeping, and it's hard to sleep sitting up. So every night I would get GERD, and it was just awful. So I was taking Prilosec every day, Tums 3 times a day, sometimes Pepsid, and I was just like, oh man, I got to get rid of this. It's miserable. And once you wake up with that, it's like it's terrible. So in the last 2 months, I have basically stopped taking Prilosec, stopped taking Tums. I just take like 500 whatever for calcium, since I don't drink milk, and I don't hardly ever take Pepsid or Prilosec. I hardly ever have GERD anymore.
Wonderful.
So yeah, I'm just like, okay, I can sleep normal.
Yeah.
I can sleep how I want to sleep without thinking, oh my God, I got to sleep sitting up for this GERD.
And that brings, something up from last segment. We talked about polypharmacy. I'm admitting patients to the hospital from the emergency department. They're on 30 meds. And, another thing I get with my consultations or even patients inquiring, they're like, what about the side effects? I've heard these side effects. I'm like, so if you continue to be overweight, you're on 20, 30 medicines, you're probably going to be on more medicines, and this cocktail of 30 medicines that you're taking a day, or even 10 medicines a day, it can't be good for you.
No.
I mean, you have a lot of side effects with that in itself. So my thought is just, you're either going to continue with gaining weight, be on more medicines, and then have a devastating diagnosis like a heart attack, stroke, or you're going to get down in your weight with one medication and one program and then not need any of these.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how I see it. And you've already seen it just now. You're reducing your medications, the thyroid meds, the GERD meds. I mean, it's all encompassing. It really does do a number on your health. It really improves your health, improves your mental clarity, and gets you on the right track.
One of the taglines, say goodbye to cravings and hello to a healthier you.
Yes.
In more ways than one. I mean, we're not just doing a radio show and a podcast to just spitball here. This is testimonial proof for Joanne and for me, and we've had several other listeners here in the station and community that have the same facts.
One thing I just want to point out that, you read all this stuff, celebrities, they're doing it so they can look good. They're doing it so they can look good in their bikinis or whatever.
Or get their part in the movie.
Yeah, so that puts a thought into people's mind when they read these articles that it's a vain drug.
Yeah.
It's not. It has nothing for me to do with vanity, but just to ensure that I have good health going forward. And the same with you, Drew. You look great, but it's the health benefit.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
And you were talking about your sleeping practice, right?
Yeah.
So when I was a truck driver several years ago, before I got back into radio, I had to quit being a driver because I had sleep apnea. I mean, I had major issues. So I'm on a machine, CPAP every night. But my wife has told me I don't snore as loud.
Mhm.
I'm having a deeper sleep. I'm more comfortable. I can turn on my side here, there, and everywhere. You know, so
Sure.
another benefit. You know, I'll do another test here. I think in September or October to see really if that's made a huge improvement. I think it has.
And you probably, I'll say this, so my mom just got up for CPAP, and there's a good chance you won't need it.
Oh, that works for me.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
Think
just
of
another
that.
avenue,
Yeah.
another cross off the list, saying, hey, this has worked for me in this way too.
Yep.
Sure.
And the other thing is there is I'm a doctor, obviously, and I get all these emails from Medscape and different studies that are coming out. And one of the things that came by was, the medical weight loss, let's say, industry from the 1980s to now. And so there's been medicines like phentermine, there's been medicines, naltrexone, there's been topiramate, there's been various medications, all right, pills that really haven't, put a big dent in the obesity rates.
Right.
And they were looking at it, and even today with these medications, the obesity prevalence in the United States has tripled since the 1980s.
I believe that.
Okay. And it's about 42%, even with these medications. So
Wow.
Wow.
we can't really, I feel like at this point, treat our way out of this, because
Right.
even with these medications, we're still seeing it go up. I think it's like why we're on this show, educating folks that they need to start thinking about their health today, whether they're 30, 40, 50, or even 71, and start just like recognizing that these medications are used as a tool. They're going to aid in your success, reduce the cravings, and get you down on your weight so you don't have to be on 30 meds at age 50 and be admitted to the hospital with a heart attack or stroke. And so, I feel like right now in the United States, we're kind of doing damage control at this point.
We need
Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
And this is a huge boost.
Sure. And I think that has something to do with when I was growing up, we had healthy meals.
Sure.
We had food from the garden.
Yes.
We had the cow that, the guy down the street had or whatever. Chickens that my
Yep.
grandma raised or whatever. And homemade pasta that, my grandma would make. We don't have that today. It's all prepackaged
Processed.
food.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
Processed. And I decided I'm getting back to clean eating.
You have to.
Not all this like, well, it's convenient, or I'll just run down and get, a burger here or there. I hardly ever eat fast food anymore.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And we talk about that in multiple shows. There's Alder Spring, that meat company that I talk about, really healthy organic meat that you really can't get around here. You have to order it, but it's super healthy for you. And then I have another product I'm going to mention. It's Koya, and we'll talk about that in another section, but it's essentially freeze-dried organic, raspberries, kale, spinach, blueberries that you can simply mix in a drink, and it gives you all those phytonutrients. And so, guys, we're here to give you that medication and education, the nutrition that you need, the little simple Dr. Joe hacks that can reduce your glucose spikes, your insulin spikes, and get you back to the health that you deserve. You deserve this. You deserve this education.
Sure.
I want to know what I'm putting into my body at this point.
Yes.
And that's awesome. So
Yeah.
I love that. We talked about it earlier this week, or last week on Kel Brazil Morning Show, how all this is in the news this past week about 30 to 100% of some of their packaged frozen foods showing
Horse meat.
horse meat.
Yes, that
I'm like,
is.
what?
Yeah.
almost
So I
common
don't
in
want
Europe.
that.
Yeah, and listen to this. So Dr. Lustig, Dr. Robert Lustig, he has a book called Metabolical. I hope to meet the man one day. He's definitely someone I looked up to. He's a pediatric endocrinologist, and he's as excited about like food, sugar, and why sugar is making all of us fat.
Right.
And one of the things he brought up is, processed food. And he said that about 60 to 70% of all of our food in the United States is processed.
I believe
And
that.
he said that in the Middle East, 90% of all the food is processed in the Middle East, 90%, and their obesity rate is about 18 to 20%. So a lot of folks over there have diabetes. And so we're in the United States, we're only making that trend toward that. And that's why I have taken a step back from hospital medicine, and I wanted to have a more preventative approach.
And that's
I wanted
a
to,
wise approach.
yes,
Very wise.
and I wanted to intervene in patients' lives 20 to 30 years prior, so that I don't have to admit them at 50 years old with a devastating diagnosis. Just like Drew said, he's 34, he wanted to get a handle on his health, and he wants to prevent disease. That's why I'm in it, guys. Drew, me, Joanne, we're all here because we want to see results for the patients. We want to get down on the weight, and we want to make real change. Here at STL Med Weight Loss, we're about results. We treat you like not a patient, we treat you like a friend. And guys, we're excited to accept all new clients. We have same-day appointments. Book online, stlmedweightloss.com, or give us a call at 636-628-6604.